Okay. Is that it, Commissioner Wexler? Okay. All those in favor of item number 12 signify by saying aye. All opposed? Let the record show that item 12 passes unanimously. Item number 13, I have 3 speakers signed up: Richard Dodge, Matthew Ware, Catherine Brady, and Laura Eldridge. Richard White Cloud and Drew Campbell. Can you please all come to the front in the front row so that you can be taken in order as I've called you, please? Thank you. Mayor? Yes.
The recording minutes secretary did not hear Commissioner Jacobs on the last few votes. Would like to know clarification.
Okay, sure.
I voted in the affirmative.
Commissioner Jacobs, are you still with us?
Yes, I voted in the affirmative.
She voted in the affirmative. Okay, thank you, Commissioner Jacobs.
Mayor, isn't silence always taken as an affirmative vote? I think they just want to confirm that she's still on the phone.
No, it's not when she's on the phone. They need to hear her.
Actually say it for every vote?
Yeah.
Oh, that's new. Okay.
Okay, so...
In the interest of the Mayor, in the interest of the meeting, my silence does equate to affirmative vote.
Okay.
If you would like to pause after a number of them, I will be happy to confirm that they are still affirmative.
Okay, wonderful.
We will need to confirm them. We'll need to confirm the vote audibly.
I'm trying to help.
No. Commissioner Jacobs, the county attorney is of the opinion that you need to confirm each vote on the phone. Okay?
Yes, I heard.
Thank you. All right. Mr. Dodge, it's your turn to speak. Richard Dodge, you have 2 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Nova Southeastern University has conducted the Broward County Sea Turtle Conservation Program in partnership with Broward for many years, having surveyed more than 50,000 turtle nests and saved countless baby turtles from death and destruction. We would have welcomed the opportunity to compete for re-award of the contract, which is up for renewal. However, the bid for the program was restricted to the sheltered marketplace, and because NSU does not qualify as a small business, we were excluded from being able to bid after more than 2 decades of successful, productive, and cost-effective service. This seems unfair. NSU is Broward University, and our turtle program is community-based and hires many Broward residents and many students. The low bid amount of item number 13 would be too low for us to be able to accomplish the project requirements. Turtle surveying is sophisticated. It demands infrastructure and attention to detail and experience. In the last 3 years, our actual costs, have been significantly greater than the low bid amount, and that includes extra work and scientific leadership. And the new scope actually increases the duty and the survey duration over previous years. Consequently, a low bid amount could lead to an inability to accomplish task requirements and potentially severe ramifications. Internal review and external review of the low bidder reveals no experience in turtle surveys of this nature. Engaging a contract without prior service and prior experience could have severe consequences. NSU is currently engaged with Broward County Parks and Recreation for the Marine Environmental Education Center and the Carpenter House. Without our involvement, this would present significant problems. NSU has invested over $300,000 in this project, and Broward County has invested millions.
Thank you, Mr. Dodge.
Thank you.
The next person to speak is Matthew Ware.
Mayor, we want to letter and part of the record. Mr. Dodge?
Yes, I'm sure he does. Right. So, Matthew Ware, you're the next speaker.
Thank you, Commission. Thank you for taking the time to hear us today. As a resident of Broward County, a student at Nova, it's very important that this turtle program go very smoothly. I've got some serious concerns regarding the timeline with how close we are coming up to that March 1st deadline to get people out on the beach. With Nova's experience, the importance of making sure we have accurate data for the turtles themselves, to make sure that we have a proper conservation plan for them, and for the tourism in Broward County. As an avid diver, as a dive master here with the county, with various shops here in the county. I can see the look on divers' faces when they get excited to see the various turtles that we have here in the county, and to see some of the problems that could arise in terms of some of the glitches with the inexperience for the current bidder. To see how those could affect turtle populations down the road could have serious ramifications both for the turtles themselves and for the tourism industry here in Broward County. So, thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Catherine Brady.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Catherine Brady, and I'm a resident of Hollywood. As a Broward resident, I would like to express my concern regarding the item number up for bid today. I'm fully sympathetic to the county's need to save money and support other projects. In this case, however, the cheapest option may not necessarily be the best. After reviewing the bid package, I'm concerned by the lack of experience this current bidder has. I wonder if the lack of experience will allow them to adequately and efficiently fulfill the job requirements. Additionally, I would like to note the potential risks the county may face if they award this bid. First, there's the ecological risks. Sea turtles are a federally endangered species with declining populations. Any harm that is done during this nesting season will impact their populations for the next 30 years. Secondly, because of their lack of experience, I'm concerned that this firm is not going to be able to fulfill the obligations sufficiently. There are factors that can't be accounted for, such as unusual nesting habits or changes in weather, which may delay workers and potentially place them in state and federal violations. These violations could lead to fine or potentially closing the beaches. Broward relies heavily on their beaches for tourism, and it would be devastating for both the turtles and local business owners to face demise, as well as a significant loss of business, considering that spring break and summer is right around the corner. My question to you, Commissioners, is are you willing to run the risk of potentially being in violation of state and federal law? Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Laura Eldridge.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. My name's Laura Eldridge, and I'm asking the county to decline the award to the open-ended sea turtle contract to the lowest bidder. As the Assistant Training Coordinator for the Marine Animal Rescue Society and as a Nova Southeastern University student, the knowledge and technical base that this job offers towards direct experience in the conservation of a threatened species is unparalleled to any other in South Florida. The employment of this job, used to train future marine biology leaders of South Florida, should not be given to those who it does not benefit the most. While I understand allowing a local small business the chance to prosper by gaining the permitting opportunity of this bid, I believe it benefits future Broward County conservation leaders more. Within my career, I understand everything it takes to put together an organization of this stature and believe that the resources, employees, training, and time commitment cannot be pulled together by this organization under the bid within the 18 days that remain until the beginning of the sea turtle season. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Richard Whitecloud, I think. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Thank you. Richard Whitecloud, Director of Sea Turtle Oversight Protection. I'm not in support of anybody's personal bid with their company. However, from a philosophical standpoint, remember that our organization started 8 years ago from scratch, being neophytes, and we were totally new. Now, we're one of the most premier rescue organizations in the state of Florida. I hold the most marine turtle permits in the entire state of Florida for an ongoing rescue operation. So something new doesn't necessarily have to be so scary as long as everybody is cooperating and trying to make sure that everybody's obligations are met. The most important obligation that we have as a constituency in the county that has sea turtle nesting populations on our beach is the sea turtles. That's the primary focus. That's the reason why we have sea turtle conservation programs. So while you delegate amongst yourselves on which contract you are going to acknowledge, think about the environment, how it's going to be changing in the next 25 years, and what are we going to do new instead of everything that we've done for the last 30 years. Okay, we have a pivotal point in our history right now. Coastal sea level rise is going to be changing the game for all of us. Think of what the environment's going to need. Don't be afraid to try something new. If it's in front of you, look at all the options. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person to speak is Mr. Drew Campbell.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here, Commissioners, Ms. Mayor. And EMCS as a company appreciated the opportunity to bid on this project. We've been a small business here in Broward County for 5 years, and we've never held a contract with the county. We've been trying very hard to do that. The company itself, our staff has over 15 years of ecological restoration project experience. We've worked for agencies like the Water Management District, Miami-Dade County, on very controversial projects and coordinate with the Army Corps of Engineers, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, National Marine Fisheries on many of them. Our organization prides itself on putting together data sets that are not only scientifically defensible, but legally defensible. A lot of the work that we do goes to court, and we've never had a client come back to us saying, you know what, you really didn't do the right job, and now we're in trouble for it. That's point one. Point two is that we appreciate the fact that NOVA is emotional in its response, and I quite honestly didn't expect this many people here, but there's a certain point in time when a collaborative effort can be made versus a defensive or reactionary measure, and I believe that time is now. Hopefully we can work together on this project, if not in spirit, hand in hand. So I appreciate your time, and I look forward to your decision today.
Thank you, Mr. Campbell. Okay. And Mr. Campbell, you had a couple of seconds left. You said you wanted to answer questions. You are from the Environmental and Marine Consulting Services, who's the company that was chosen?
Yeah, I'm the vice president of the company.
Okay. I would just like to ask you, in terms of your experience, how much experience do you have in doing this?
As far as the experience level that EMCS has in the coastal environment, it expands upon many projects with many different varieties of work. In order to bring true talent to the table, we've hired a project manager who's been conducting sea turtle program management for the last 7 years at Gumbo Limbo. So we brought him in to manage the project. I am going to function as a data oversight, quality assurance, quality control, and general overall management.
And basically, you were the low bidder on this particular project. So
Correct.
You obviously have done some research in terms of your ability to bid at that level and get the job done, right?
Yes, we believe that over the course of the 3 years, if we're awarded all 3 years, the company will make a small profit on the project.
Okay. Thank you. You can have a seat. I think you should probably stay up to the front because I have a queue of about 4 commissioners, so you can have a seat in the front. The first person that pulled this item was Commissioner LaMarca, followed by Commissioner Wexler, followed by Commissioner Holness. And you want also? Okay, then followed by Vice Mayor Ryan and Kier. Okay. So
Can we ask, I guess, somebody from procurement? I'm looking your way to come up.
Mr. Billingsley.
Thank you, County Administrator. I guess the first question, because I want to get into some detailed questions about the actual process, but just if you could tell, what was the reason for this being in the bid and shelter market?
The estimated dollar value was below the $250,000 that's used to consider a project for the shelter market.
Is this something we changed from the last few years with NSU? Because it was in that $160,000 range before.
Well, when NSU received the bid, I'm not sure whether the shelter market, whether the dollar threshold was in place for the shelter market. But anytime we get a procurement, we review it first if it's within that dollar threshold to determine whether it meets the requirement of the shelter market. I believe there were several vendors that supported our ability to issue the shelter market solicitation.
Okay. All right, thank you. Now, just some observations I have. If you look at the coastline of this county, there's 3 segments of our beaches, and I have the northernmost and the central area, and that's about 73% of our coastline. And my concern is in the detailed information from Professor Dodge. and was brought forward by one of the students, was that if there's one issue of a no-show one day, one survey is missed, basically we can have our beaches shut down for up to 65 days. I know that 13 million people visited Broward County last year. I'm not going to say they all came to the beach. A significant amount of them went to the Sawgrass Mall and other places, maybe the Everglades and all around, but a very significant amount of these visitors came to our beaches and spent upwards of $10 billion to keep our economy moving forward. One of the concerns I have, and I think everybody knows that I'm going to look at the price of something, and we look at low bid, and that's great when we're looking at any project really, but when we talk about maybe a courthouse or something like that, it's significant. A couple years ago, I had the honor of jumping out of an airplane with the United States Army Golden Knights, and as I was sitting in there waiting to get to 12,000 feet, I was hoping that whoever supplied the parachutes to the United States Army wasn't a low bid. So I don't want to make light of it, but really, we're talking in an area where Nova Southeastern University is the preeminent oceanographic center here on the Atlantic coast, certainly the south portion of the Atlantic coast, and they have the Center for Reef Excellence there. The opening included such people as former Vice President Al Gore. There is a very strong desire to take good care of our environment, certainly our ecology off the coast, because people come here for that. I'm very concerned with us just going out to bid on this at low bid, and the gentleman spoke very eloquently. I have less concerns with his abilities, but I have concerns with the fact that we have Nova Southeastern there, and they weren't allowed to bid in this because of the sheltered issue, and we're risking big issues, as you've all heard. We're really pressing the federal government, the agencies and federal government, now that we have our beach permit from the state, to get that project going this year, certainly if not the majority of it this season, this year. And any missteps could cost us a great portion of our economy and could harm our environment off the shore. So I'm very concerned about it. I'd like to hear from other folks, but it's a strong concern of mine.
Thank you. The next person that I have in queue, and I'm just going to preface this by saying, Commissioners, we've asked our audience to be brief, so can we please observe the same rules? Commissioner Wexler, followed by Commissioner Holness, then Vice Mayor Ryan and Commissioner Kier.
One of the things that Nova Southeastern wrote, and Dr. Dodge's letter is part of our record, is that if they had the opportunity to respond to this, their response would have been greater than $50,000 than the number that we have before us. So I think that that's something that we need to certainly think about. I'm concerned, and I'm going to go back to the bigger picture. I'm concerned, Ms. Henry, about the decision to do a sheltered market for this project and not an RFP or an RLI for this project. And yesterday I put out a question. I did not pull the item off of consent agenda, but it was item number 18. And it was regarding tennis, and it was regarding the number, and it was regarding that the threshold was $100,000 and the contract is maybe in its lifetime going to be $200,000, and that's why they didn't have to bring it to the Board of County Commissioners, yada, 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 yada. And I accept that answer. But what I don't understand is that Ms. Billingsley stood before us regarding the trigger for sheltered market, and what clicked in my head is that number 18 would have qualified for sheltered market as well, because it's below that $250,000 threshold, as this is. And so where's the standardization of when the decision is made in purchasing that something should go out there as sheltered market and something should be going out there as a competitive bid? And sheltered market is competitive, but I'm talking about in the open marketplace. And that troubles me, colleagues. I will tell you, I don't understand that. So that's a bigger picture and a bigger question. You don't need to answer that for me right now, because we got to figure out what we're going to do today with this. But I really would appreciate it. I'm looking there too, because Ms. Billingsley is standing there, that you let me know why that decision was made to go one way with one and one way with the other. Because if anything was screaming for a committee to look at the experience of a response, it's something like this. And so, yes, it may have qualified for sheltered market, but the decision was made to put it in that category where I guess it could have been made to put it out as an RFP or an RLI where people would have then looked at the responses. When I look at it, I had asked and pulled up the references. That's what I find extremely troubling. I love the price. Your cost factor is wonderful. But the 3 references that you gave, all of them, but they had no involvement with sea turtles. Another company was hired to do the protected species observation for this period, and the third one says, but not able to comment on their experience with protected species or sea turtle monitoring. And so you stood up there, sir, and you mentioned that you had this experience, yet you didn't give the staff any of that experience in order to verify that indeed you had it. So merely a low bid, for me, doesn't qualify at this point in time. I don't know how to get out of the pile that we've built for ourselves. I really don't know how to do this today with March. Isn't that the start of and I don't know anything about turtles, folks. I know process, but I don't know turtles. That's the start of the season. And if that's your head is shaking, if that's the case, then what are we going to do? I know it's rhetorical, but I have to raise these issues. I don't know other than to shove it back to staff and
Okay, Commissioner Wexler.
I'm done. Thank
you. So, how about we go ahead and we go down the queue, and then I'll have someone from staff come up to the podium and answer questions and tell you what your options are. Okay, the next person in queue is Commissioner Holman.
Yes. We have a short time to start. And with that in mind, I think it's going to be difficult for us to throw this out, start over again. It's not going to happen on time. We don't work that fast, to my knowledge. The gentleman from Environmental and Marine Consultant Services, I'd like for him to come back up because he struck a chord that I think probably can help us get there. And that is one of collaboration and working with Nova Southeast. I think that's probably the only way for us to salvage this at this point in time, is to see how they can join together. I don't know whether or not Novus pays their student or the students are doing this primarily for the educational purpose. But I think that that's something we ought to look at. Do you have any idea how you see this collaboration working, sir?
No, honestly, I quite don't. We've gone ahead and kind of reached out, like I said before, Commissioner, and unfortunately we haven't received any response back, so we were fully prepared to implement as of March 1st. We've been waiting in the wings and lining all of our ducks up so we can effectively, execute the program. And I know that a lot of questions have come up as far as cost goes. I've worked on the academic side, I've worked in the public sector, and I've worked in the private sector. And by far, out of the 3, I've found the public sector to be the most efficient because you're forced to, you have to. And this is certainly a case of that. So we've put a few redundancies in the program, well, maybe not redundancies, but maximized efficiency as far as data collection, data analysis, quality assurance, and quality control. And a lot of it has to do with automation. So that may be getting a little bit too detailed. But my point being, yes, we're able to go ahead and execute at this point. If we can explore means by which we could collaborate together, I would be open to that.
Okay, and you did say that you hired someone with experience of 7 years. What can you tell us a little bit more about that person's experience?
Certainly. Perhaps I could bring him down for some,
sure.
A little bit introduction. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is David Anderson.
Hi, Mr. Anderson.
Would you
And I have 7 years of experience working with sea turtles and doing sea turtle nesting surveys and collecting data and analyzing data and so forth. I've done that for the city of Boca Raton for the last 7 years, and I was asked to come on board with the Environmental Marine and Consulting Services firm to handle this project here in the county, since because we're looking forward to being awarded this contract. And everything I've seen in the contract, I've done before in the last 7 years. As far as the level of expertise is concerned, and I don't think actually that should be of a concern, to be honest with you, because I'm confident in us mobilizing equipment, staff, hiring the correct number of experienced employees to take care of the beaches beginning on March 1.
Okay, and thank you, sir. And in terms of our staff sheltering some opportunities for small business to get in, I think it's important that we find a balance somewhere, somehow, to ensure that our smaller businesses are being given opportunities to be able to develop skill sets and experiences so they can compete in the rest of the world. And I know that part of the analysis that our small business office utilize is the number of available firms that can compete for this work. Is that correct, Ms. Henry?
That's correct.
Okay, so if we don't have an adequate number, we don't put it in the sheltered market. Am I correct? Or
That's correct.
okay, so somehow we determined that we had enough expertise in the marketplace to be able to put this in the sheltered market.
Yes.
Okay. I'd love to see Nova Southeast University collaborate with you so that the students can continue to get the experience and the education that they need in order to grow and to develop and to complete their coursework. So I hope that you're willing to do that and probably make some more direct outreach to get them on board so that you can do it. This contract seems to be for 1 year and then renewals afterwards. So if 1 year we are not able to see the performance, we certainly can go back and change what we're doing. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Holmes. The next person in queue is Vice Mayor Ryan.
I had, as was mentioned by Commissioner Wexler, I had noticed that the three references could not comment on the vendor's experience with regard to sea turtles. So we've heard from David Anderson that it's just been brought on, no previous experience with environmental and marine consulting services, but professes some experience with sea turtles. Understanding the time constraints that we're dealing under, I'm going to, at the appropriate time, ask that the award, if it's approved by the board, be conditioned that there not be a renewal, because the award calls for an option for 2 renewals at the discretion of the county, but that these renewals not be exercised without commission approval.
Thank you, Vice Mayor Ryan. The next person in queue is Commissioner Kier.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I've been thinking long and hard about this issue, and, I truthfully have, some concerns. It appears that Nova Southeastern has had this contract for some time and has done a pretty darn good job. And usually when something's not broken, I don't like to try to fix it. I understand that, we're trying to give the opportunity for a small business to come in, and that's where it makes this somewhat of a difficult issue. But I am somewhat concerned because it appears from your testimony that even though you're bringing a gentleman on board that's had experience with this, your company itself hasn't specifically had the experience with this identical issue. And what I would recommend is, and I believe that we could do this, is we also, I believe, can extend, Nova Southeastern's contract for a limited time so that we fall under the, so that they can begin working on March 1st while we go back out and rebid and give everybody the opportunity to participate, your company along with Nova Southeastern University. And to me, that seems fair to give more folks the opportunity to be able to have this contract. And that would be what I would recommend. I don't know how anybody else feels about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Kier. Is that it from the dais so far? Okay, so at this point, I would like to weigh in. One thing,
Mayor, when you have an opportunity, I'd like to weigh in as well.
okay, wonderful. I'll put you in queue. All right, one of the things that I recognize from the testimony here today is that when your expert, Mr. David Anderson, came forward, he said that he was confident that he would be able to hire staff by 3/1 of 2014, realizing that that's just a couple of weeks away, and this is such a highly specialized field. I'm not confident that you would be as successful in hiring a person and getting them up to speed on doing this by the 1st of March. And so I would like to ask that, you can have a seat for a minute there. Ms. Billingsley, could Ms. Brenda Billingsley come forward from the Purchasing Department?
Ms. Billingsley.
Ms. Billingsley? Is there a possibility of giving some type of, I don't know, I think you were, in terms of giving like an extension of a NOVA's contract for maybe a 6-month period, and then having them get their team together, or giving them a time frame to get their team together? Because I just don't see this happening by March the 1st.
Okay. The existing contract with NOVA expires, I believe, at the end of this month, and there are no opportunities for renewal. However, we can enter into what we consider an interim agreement for a period of time to give the vendors an opportunity to either work together or just whatever the will of the board is to handle this process. So it would be an interim contract. It would be a separate agreement because it has expired, or will expire by the end of this month.
And do you know if NOVA would be willing to do something like that?
We'd have to go through our process. We send out a notification for them to either concur or not, and then go through the process and award if they do agree to do this.
And on a month-to-month basis,
It would
or?
be on a month-to-month or a set period of time, not to exceed, not a month-to-month, not to exceed 12 months, or however long you want the interim contract to be.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Billingsley. Commissioner Jacobs, you asked to weigh in?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Yes, I come from the point of view where I question the very nature of going from a public collaborative process that the county, Broward County, had with an educational institution similar to agreements that we have with the school board, and understand, in looking at the bigger picture, while this contract may be 1 year, there's a whole lot of students whose lives change in 1 year through NOVA. So the amount of people who are exposed to this process, students that are here in Broward County that will hopefully come back and be a part of our fabric in the future, the collaboration between the county, the obligation, I think, for us to work with the university, to me, is the bigger picture that should be looked at here. It isn't so much to me that this is a shelter market proposal. There are many other items, I suppose, that could be, but at the end of the day, I think we need to look at the long history that we have with NOVA, the institution that they have set up, the number of students that are running through, and how we as a county benefit from that. You could go out, I'm sure, and look for other companies. You could find someone, for example, Mr. Anderson's experiences with the city of Boca. Well, Broward County's coastline is 24 miles long. I don't believe Boca's is quite so long. We have had an increase in turtle nesting sites to the degree, so many, in fact, to the degree that some of the hotels have been wringing their hands over the acreage of beach that's now being roped off to protect those nests. At the end of the day, the effort that it takes for this entire process to be accurate, the kids go out, the folks that are involved in this program are out in the very wee hours of the morning. This isn't the kind of job that you go out and just find anybody who's going to go out at 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning to look over turtle nests. It's a long process. I don't have confidence that this company could staff up in 2 weeks and pull off what Nova Southeastern University and the Institute has been doing for so many years. And I would echo the comments of Commissioner Kerr that it is very easy for us to extend the contract, do it all the time, I would ask that we extend it, and I'm not even really interested in going out to a shelter market. I would like to find a way for this collaborative process between the county and the institution of the university to continue going into the future and to follow the same model that we do when we do these same projects with the Broward County School Board.
Thank you, Commissioner Jacobs. Okay, at this point in time, I have Commissioner Wexler who's going to make a motion.
I am actually, you saw me scrambling over there with Ms. Billingsley. We can, Dr. Dodge, can I ask him a question?
Please come forward, Dr. Dodge.
Do you have the authority to extend the contract?
I believe the existing contract says that we can be extended by the county's will for up to 90 days. And so I believe that's part of the existing contract.
Okay, because by the end of the month, the existing contract, according to purchasing...
Is over.
Is over.
But it can be extended
up
to 90 days by, as I understand, the current contract says that.
Yes, Ms. Billingsley?
Correct.
Great.
Once they receive a contract through a competitive...
Then I'm very comfortable making that motion to do that because I believe that that gives us the immediate answer. The secondary answer, so I'm making a motion to extend your contract for 90 days, which the provision is in the existing contract. Is there a second to that motion? Okay. Can I continue then?
Sure, go ahead.
The next, because it's a two-part motion. The second part would be then I would make a motion not to award or to reject what's in front of me today. And the third part, can I keep going? Second, okay.
I'm saying just make the whole motion.
Well, they're building on each other. The third part is to direct staff to do an RLI. I don't want an RFP. I want an RLI to, not a sheltered market either, so that cost has a little bit of, very little factor, but it has a little bit. And I really think it's important for people on a selection committee to think about this, ask questions, because nothing was asked the last one. It's just, here's a bid, done. The number is the number, and that's all. I need more than that as a commissioner, and so that would be the third part of the motion.
Okay, so there's one motion. Okay, so one motion, three parts. You have a second. All those in favor of Commissioner Wexler's motion signify by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Let the record show that the motion passes unanimously. Okay, the next